You're a really bad wife.
You're always too dull. Troy and Catherine, my husband and my sister-in-law, are always verbally abusing me. Get out and leave this house, you worthless wife who doesn't even do her household chores. Jennifer, my mother-in-law, said this and randomly grabbed salt and spilled it all over me. Because of this, my whole clothes were covered with salt, and some of it went in my mouth, which was very salty. Here you go. Here's the divorce papers. It seems like Jennifer and Catherine has prepared the divorce paper in advance. I took the divorce papers, filled in my name, and packed up my things. Well, this is it. Y'all should be thanking me for taking care of you all. My name is Cynthia. I am a 30-years-old office worker. I have been married to Troy for 2 years now. We met at a blind date, and when we met, Troy was an employee working for a small company. At the blind date, Troy was the one who was interested in me and made his moves on me. Since he seemed to be sincere, worked diligently at his company, and even though he was 2 years younger than me, I was able to picture a stable life with him. Because I was able to picture the future life with him, I decided to go on dates with him to get to know him better. He was very kind and was such a gentleman. He always took me out on dates, which made me become more and more attracted to him. Not only we started dating, we became in a serious relationship, and we decided to get married. Even after we got married, we both worked. We shared the household chores and lived happily with balancing our work life and life at home. And even after being married to Troy for 2 years, our happiness hasn't changed. But then one day, Troy suddenly just quit his job. Why did you quit your workplace so suddenly?
Because I realized that I am not an office worker material.
With that kind of reason?
What do you mean with that kind of reason? Cynthia, I thought you were on my side all the time.
What? No, that's not what I meant. Of course, honey, I'm always on your side, but I just wanted you to discuss these kind of matters to me before you make any decisions.
Oh, my bad. But I just wanted to quit right away.
Troy said this as he was scratching his head. I was very much surprised because I had no idea that my husband hated his job this much to quit right away so suddenly. For now, it's okay with Troy quitting his job because I make a good amount of money from my work. But I would like him to find his next job as soon as possible. But then, 2 weeks later, my husband made a surprising statement.
Hey, Cynthia, I'm going to start a boba tea place.
What? Are you being serious right now, Troy?
The boba tea price cost is cheap, and I can do it with a small tenant.
Oh, no. Troy, have you ever worked in a food service industry before, like a cafe or restaurant, or even a cafeteria?
No, I never experienced food service industry.
Then, I don't think you opening a boba tea place is a good idea because I don't think you will be successful and won't make any profits.
Why are you saying such thing? Don't make any assumptions before I even try.
Well, I can understand you wanting to have your own cafe or restaurant or boba tea place if you ever had an experience working in the food service industry before. But opening a boba tea place out of the blue doesn't sound like such a good idea.
I don't care what you say, Cynthia. I will be opening my boba tea place. I don't like the idea of working for someone else, so I'll be the boss of my own boba tea place.
My husband, without listening to me, proceeded to prepare opening the boba tea place on his own. I told Troy that I would not cooperate in any way of him doing the boba tea place, and that he should do it on his own. But to my surprise, he decided on the design and concept of the boba tea place, and prepared to open the boba tea place on his own. As I watched Troy's boba tea place take in shape, I decided that if he was doing so well, I would see how the place goes. Then, my husband really opened a boba tea place all on his own. The boba tea place has a nice atmosphere and the location is not that bad. For a moment, I thought Troy's boba tea place could really be a thriving business. However, in reality, the idea of having a boba tea place is not that easy. The trend of drinking boba tea compared to before was gone. The few customers who came to buy Troy's boba tea drinks were the core fans who liked boba tea, regardless of the trend, but then again, that's only a few. Moreover, my husband, who was not experienced in restaurant or a cafe, was very slow at making his boba tea drinks. So, by the time Troy serves his boba tea to his customers, since he takes time, the ice in the drink will melt, which makes his boba tea taste very watery. Because of that, Troy has no regular customers who would come to drink his boba teas again, has no buzz, and has no profit at all. Well, it is said in the food service industry that one should be prepared to make zero profit for the first year, so maybe this was inevitable. But, even so, it was obvious that Troy's boba tea place would go out of business if it continued like this. So, I advised my husband that he should give up early and close his boba tea place. Then, my husband says,
I just started this boba tea place, so there's no way I am going to quit anytime soon,
in an angry manner.
Why would you say such a thing to demotivate me, Cynthia?
He said this to me in an accusing manner. When Troy is in this mood, he would not change his mind, and he would just verbally abuse me, but I couldn't cave into his idea. If we don't do something, we'll not only lose more and more money, but our debt will also increase. By now, don't you realize it's reckless to open a boba tea place without any plan? I think you worked enough at your boba tea place to learn that lesson. If you want to succeed in the food service industry, why don't you first get a little more experience in a restaurant or in a cafe before having your own place? I tried my best to convince him and make him understand my point of view, but he would not even listen to me and understand where I am coming from. I thought I had to do something or anything to bring him back to his senses, but then he made another startling comment the next day.
Let's live with my mom.
What? Why are you saying this?
Because if we move into my parents' house, the rent will be free. Then there will be no problem even if my income is small. Besides, Mom has been on her own for years since Dad passed away. I'm thinking of moving in with her as a way to take care of her.
By saying this, Troy was trying to persuade me into living with his mother. But, to be honest, I was not very keen on the idea of moving in with Jennifer, my mother-in-law, because Jennifer was very cold and mean to me. I had been to Jennifer's house for the holidays, such as Thanksgiving and Christmas, but every time I visit her, she only behaves as if she hates me. Well, I have never been severely mistreated as a Troy's wife, but I knew that it would be a lot of trouble if I started living with Jennifer. However, Troy showed no signs of caving in to the idea of not living with Jennifer. Besides, if my husband really decides on continuing to run his boba tea place, since he won't be making any income soon, we won't be able to afford our living expenses sooner or later. Thinking money-wise, it would not be a bad idea to live with Jennifer. When I compared the pros and cons of this situation, I thought there were more pros than cons, so I caved in and agreed to Troy to live with Jennifer for now. And so life of living with Jennifer began. I was immediately faced with Jennifer's bullying. Cynthia, don't just stand there and do nothing. Get on with the cleaning, laundry, and cooking. You are such a slowpoke. You're the wife of the owner of a boba tea place, so you better get your act together. Jennifer's angry voice suddenly echoed through the house. I didn't think I would get yelled at from the very first day of living together. I was already feeling not good about this situation and had only bad feelings about living with Jennifer. Troy was just looking unconcerned and oblivious about this situation, even though it was very obvious that I was in trouble and needed help and support from him. And there was one more person who was mean and annoyed me at Jennifer's house. It was Catherine, my sister-in-law. After I moved into Jennifer's house, I found out that Catherine got divorced from her husband and started to live with Jennifer with her child, Elizabeth. Therefore, we were not only living with Jennifer, but also with Catherine and Elizabeth. Cynthia, why is there no ice cream in the fridge? That's because your daughter ate 2 yesterday, didn't she? What? I'm not asking you that. Get the hint. I'm saying that you should go get more ice cream when you know that there isn't any left in the fridge. You're a really inconsiderate wife. Catherine and Jennifer both complained and picked on me about anything they could find to do so. My husband is the same as ever, ignoring Catherine picking on me and being mean to me. Troy had no say in it and just seemed unconcerned. He should be worried and should take care of me because it was his idea to live with Jennifer. So, I would glare at him coldly. But my husband was relaxing on the couch, paying attention to his phone, and paying no attention to me. Within a few days of moving in together, my frustration was already near my limit. And I learned later that Jennifer's house had a 35-year mortgage, and Jennifer still had loan payments to make. Yet, Jennifer nor Catherine does not work at all. They are currently paying their loans and mortgage from my father-in-law's inheritance and pension, who had passed away a few years ago. If Jennifer was living alone, she could manage to pay the loan. But now, since that Catherine and Elizabeth is living with her, paying off her payments have become much more difficult for Jennifer. Therefore, Jennifer said, "If you are going to be living with me, you should put some money in the house," to me. I agreed to Troy about moving into Jennifer's house because he said there would be no rent. But since we have to pay the rent, I feel pointless to live with Jennifer. Furthermore, Jennifer demanded, "I want you to pay for our living expenses as well, so you have to put in about $2,000 per month." In the end, I had to pay Jennifer $2,000 per month from my salary. But there was a reason why I was paying Jennifer without any complaints. It was because my husband told me,
I have a feeling that sales are about to increase soon.
According to my husband, the number of customers are increasing at his shop. I thought that once his boba tea place gets on track, we would be able to make a stable living. So I decided to be more patient until then. So, for the upcoming 3 months, I was very patient. In the meantime, Jennifer and Catherine continued picking on me and being mean to me. Since I was about to reach my limit, I decided to sneak out and visit my husband's boba tea place unannounced. But, to my surprise, there were no customers there. I watched his boba tea place from a distance for a while, but there was no sign of any customers at all. Maybe my husband was lying. That thought crossed my mind. At the same time, at my workplace, I succeeded on my project and was getting a promotion. After getting my promotion, I was put in charge of a joint project with a new company. Since it's a new project with a different new company and I was in charge of this project, I had a lot to do for my work. Working overtime became normal, and there were times when I had to come in very early for work. This meant that I had less and less time to do household chores. If possible, I wanted Jennifer and Catherine, who are always at home, to do the household chores, but they stubbornly refused. Household chores are for the wife's job. By saying that, Both Jennifer and Catherine refused to do any of the household chores and just left it to me to do them. So, when I couldn't do household chores for a while because of the new project I was in charge of, the laundry piled up, the room was covered with dust, and it became a real mess. Moreover, I have to also prepare dinner for them, and on days when I have to work late, Jennifer, Catherine, and Troy would have expensive food delivered to home for them to enjoy and leave nothing for me to eat. And even though I am unable to do household chores because of my work, Jennifer and Catherine just blames me for it. Recently, not only Jennifer and Catherine, but even my husband blames me.
You're a really bad wife.
You're always too dull. My husband and my sister-in-law are always verbally abusing me. Get out and leave this house, you worthless wife who doesn't even do her household chores. Then Jennifer said this and randomly grabbed salt and spilled it all over me. Because of this, my whole clothes were covered with salt, and some of it went in my mouth, which was very salty. This is way out of hand, and this situation is too horrible. I have tried my best to do the housework in my own way, and I have contributed in many other ways, such as putting in money for living expenses. And yet, I get such treatment like this. You're the one who feeds off from Troy's earnings, and doing nothing but being so arrogant. What? Yeah, that's right. I really don't know what you're doing not doing household chores when you're only earning such a small amount like an allowance from your job. You're probably saying that you are working overtime to cover up the affair you are having behind Troy's back, aren't you? Huh?
What? Cynthia, you are having an affair while I'm working hard to run my boba tea store? I should get alimony for this.
My in-laws continued the conversation with premise of me having an affair with another man behind Troy's back. Then Jennifer took out some papers from a drawer and handed it to me. Here you go. Here are the divorce papers. When I saw the papers, I saw Troy's handwriting and his signature. It seemed like Troy, Jennifer, and Catherine has prepared the divorce paper in advance. I couldn't take it anymore. Why am I the one who is working the hardest, being pushed around so much? I am getting the hell out of this house. I took the divorce papers, filled in my name, and packed up my belongings. As I walked to the front door with my belongings, my in-laws saw me off with grins on their faces. Now, what a relief! We finally got rid of the trouble of this house.
You deserve to live a lonely life on your own.
How could they be so horrible? I regret the fact that I worked so hard to make the livings for these people. I didn't want to leave without saying anything back to them. I said to my in-laws in such a mean tone. Well, this is it. You all should be thanking me for taking care of you all. I know you guys are the ones who will be in trouble when I'm gone. I wish you all the best. When I said this, the in-laws looked at me with wide eyes and made a fuss, but I ignored them and just left their house. I then immediately submitted the divorce papers, rented an apartment for a single person, and began to live a comfortable life on my own. Why didn't I do this earlier? I should have left that house right away. Regretting my slow decision, I still lived a peaceful and tranquil life from then on. Incidentally, for some reason, Jennifer, who was now my ex-mother-in-law, kept calling me a lot after I left the house. Either she hadn't abused me enough yet, or she had found out the truth about her husband's earnings. I never bothered to find out why. I decided not to answer Jennifer's phone calls, thinking that if I continued to deal with her, I would probably only get into trouble. I went on with my life, and a year had passed in the blink of an eye. Then I received a call from an unknown number. At first, I thought it would be best not to answer, but then I thought it might be a call from a business partner or a business-related call. With that thought in my mind, I hurried to answer the phone. Then, to my surprise, it was my ex-mother-in-law's voice coming through the phone. Ah, Cynthia, finally you picked up the phone. You blocked my previous number, didn't you?
Of course I would block her number if I had been getting so many unwanted calls from her.
What do you want?
I was too tired to deal with every single comment she makes, so I decided to let her get to the point quickly.
Oh, okay. I'll just say it plain and simple.
I'm going to be direct without getting into too much detail.
I want you to come back to us.
What? What are you talking about?
Please, we are really in deep trouble. Troy told me later that his boba tea store had hardly made any profit after a year, and that he had been paying the store rent out of his share of the estate. That's when I first found out and learned that Cynthia, you had been putting money into our house and helping out our living expenses.
I'm glad you finally realized this.
I wish you had told me this from the beginning.
Are you sure you should be talking like that to me right now?
I'm the only one who you can rely on now, aren't I? I'm sorry. I take that back. I am begging you. I won't be mean to you anymore. So please come back to our home and to our family.
Even over the phone, I could tell that Jennifer was very serious about her request. It is certainly impossible for Jennifer to have 2 big kids at her house jobless, while paying a 35-year mortgage all on her own. But then, Jennifer has been mean to me too much for me to be nice to her. I'm sorry, but I will never forgive you. There is no way we will ever get back together. If you can't pay the mortgage, why don't you sell the house? Well, Troy has been running a deficit for a long time anyway, so his debts are likely to be substantial. If you add all of those debts together, it wouldn't be enough to just sell your house, though. That's not why I'm asking you to do this. Troy's boba tea store went out of business 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
I knew it. I knew that he would go out of business. But it's none of my business anymore. I'm divorced, and you said it yourself. I'm worthless to you.
Oh, I said that because that was just an emotional outburst.
I don't care anymore. Anyway, I am already a stranger to you. You're on your own now. With that, I hung up the phone. Later on, a mutual friend of mine and Troy told me about what happened to Troy and his family, my ex-in-laws. Troy and his family could not pay the mortgage on the house and eventually sold the house, but because it was sold for a surprisingly low price, they were still burdened with a large amount of debt. In addition to that, since Troy's boba tea store had been losing so much money and was in a heavy debt, all the ex-in-laws are now working part-time jobs to pay off all of their debts. Meanwhile, I have been promoted at work and my salary has increased. Now I spend money only for myself and live a peaceful and happy life. From the beginning, Troy was such a crazy husband, wasn't he? And to that, his sister Catherine and his mother Jennifer are the worst human beings. I think Cynthia did well to endure living with such a crazy family. I'm very glad that Troy destroyed his boba tea store in no time. As Cynthia advised him, Troy should know better that he should have first had some experience in the food service industry before having his own business. Anyways, I am very relieved because Troy is experiencing now. I hope that Cynthia will continue to live a happy, peaceful life on her own. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. See